Hello everyone, my name's Teresa Kane and I'm going to do a little chat today on the cause of suppression. And personally I think this is information that is vital for everyone to survive, particularly in these times. But yes, I'm taking this information from, I've got this big book called Scientology Handbook by L. Ron Hubbard. So fortunately though, this is broken down into little individual booklets, and you can get the cause of suppression booklet, which I believe should be part of the coronavirus survival book package. Like, you need it, you need this information. So I'm going to go over, there's a lot of information here, so I'm not going to go over that all today. What I'm going to do is read the little kind of excerpt so you get an idea what it covers, and I'm going to cover a couple of words and what they mean, and give lots of examples, or examples I've thought of, or maybe someone else has told me. Normally in this sort of thing I would ask for examples, but that's not how we're doing this format. But feel free to, if you think of times where you've experienced some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, feel free to put it in the comments. And I'm also, the couple of words that I'm going to define, I'll put them in the comments as well, so you don't have to go back and go forward and go back and forward and re-listen to me. I mean, I know you want to, but you don't have to, okay? Alright, so let me read this a little bit. So why are some people ill more often than others? Interesting. And why are some accident prone? And is there a reason others live their lives on an emotional seesaw, doing well one day and badly the next? I know a lot of people, I have known a lot of people that feel that way, where it's like it's all going well and then boom. And I know I've certainly experienced that. And I've known people as well that are like, oh gosh, this guy's always ill. I think, why is that? Well, in this information you find out why. There is an explanation, and it has nothing to do with the gods, fate, or the position of the stars. In fact, the actual reason behind these phenomena and the resolution has been explained in Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard was able to see through the complexities of human behaviour and discover the underlying factors which explain the phenomenon of suppression in people. For it is suppression by others that causes these seemingly haphazard events. In the excerpts from his writings in this chapter, you will find out how to recognise people who wish you ill and those who should be your friends. You'll discover why some people do poorly in life and how you can help them regain their well-being. You'll learn about the mechanics behind this destructive yet commonplace situation and ways to counteract it. It is data that could actually change your life tangibly and instantly, just as it has changed the lives of others. So that's what I hope to provide with this information, and it's information that you can use to change your life. So the couple of words that I want to cover before we even get into the different types of people and how to recognise them and how to recognise your friends is two words actually. One is suppress and one is suppression. So suppress, I'm going to give you the definition of that as given by L. Ron Hubbard. It means squash someone, sit on him, make him smaller, refuse to let him reach for anything, make him uncertain about his reaching, render or lessen him in any way possible, by any means possible, to the harm of the individual and for the fancied protection of the suppressor. So that's suppress, that's what happens when somebody's trying to suppress you. Now, suppression is a harmful intention or action against which one cannot fight back. Thus, when one can do anything about it, it is less suppressive. So we're going to find out how to do something about it. So I'll go over the first definition first, suppress. In each part of it I'll give some examples that I've seen myself or I've experienced or I've heard from others. I'll try not to make that too lengthy. In this sort of chat, normally it's a kind of two-way thing where I get examples from people, but we're not doing that today. But here we go. So part of this first, squash someone. Well, I don't know about you, but there's times where I've been really enthusiastic and excited and I've spent 20 minutes chatting to someone, and by the end of that I've felt like, oh, I feel a bit squashed here. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes that's all you can kind of recognise. It's like, whenever I chat to that person, I just feel a bit like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I feel a bit like squashed. So, you know, sometimes you can't quite put your finger on it, but that's something I've experienced. Or maybe get someone's really excited at work, they're doing well, and they're like, you know what, I did 8 sales today, and their wee colleague in the corner is like, oh, aye. And Mike over in the West Coast branch, he's done 15, you know. Oof, that's it, you know. You're like, I was doing well. But somehow feel a bit squashed. Or you have a great idea, and you're like, you know, if we implement this idea in the business or the company, or I think we can really improve things, and you communicate it, and someone says, oh, no, good idea, but I like Billy's idea better. Sorry. You know, we've all probably experienced things like that where you just feel a bit squashed and like, oh God, I'm really trying, and then hit, you know. So later on we'll find out what to do about it. Actually, I remember there was a girl at school that she just used to ridicule me, and it went on for weeks before I confronted her. I was about 12 or 13. I hadn't really been the kind of kid that got ridiculed, so I wasn't sure how to deal with it. But I was getting ridiculed, and eventually I did confront her, but I did definitely feel a bit squashed with her. Anyway, it turned out it was so bizarre. She actually was trying to make friends with me, and we did become friends. She was a nice girl. But her way of becoming a friend certainly wasn't ideal. Let's see if I've got any other ones. Oh, there's the subtle ones where you feel squashed. Like, you know, you're like at work, you're all excited about an idea, and you've told people, and they're like, oh, that sounds good, you know. And unbeknownst to you, someone's going round, one of your colleagues, just saying, oh, I know, a nice idea, but it's a waste of time, honestly. She doesn't know what she's talking about, or he doesn't know what he's talking about. And before you know it, you know, that something was going to happen, and then it sort of fell flat on its face, and you feel a bit squashed. It's a bit more subtle and a bit more hidden. But things like that can happen sometimes where you can't quite put your finger on it, but you feel that way. Anyway, if you can think of examples you could tell me, that would be helpful. You can put them in the comments. Times you felt squashed, what was happening. That would be interesting. But yeah, so suppress, squash someone, sit on him. Well, that one's kind of obvious. I had a couple of uncles that would do that, but that was a bit more fun. But no, for my brother, actually, not so much for him. Make him smaller. Right, yeah, this can happen a lot. School, you can get brilliant teachers, don't get me wrong, I've known some amazing teachers, but when you get a badging. So one example I know, so this kid wrote this great story, done really well, wrote her story, but there was loads of spelling mistakes in the story. So the teacher decides to get up in front of the whole class and read the story out to everyone, mispronouncing the words as per the spelling mistakes. You know, people instead of people and things like that. So obviously by the end of that, girl was humiliated. Everyone's laughing, it's all very funny, ha ha ha. I doubt very much she's ever written another story from that experience. It certainly wasn't helpful. That's definitely something intended to make someone feel smaller, and did make them feel smaller. Or you get with kids a lot, you'll see them, you know, they make a mistake and one of their friends is like, oh, you're an idiot. You know, this, you know, they just sort of attack. One of my sons got a friend that does that all the time to him, and it just drives me crazy. But you know, you'll see that with people. It's where that's how they make the person feel smaller. Or school's often a good one. Like, people get worried about asking something. Somebody doesn't know what a word means. They're like, what does that word mean? And one of their pals is like sniggering. Instead of like, good that you're smart enough to know that you don't understand, should be the attitude. But the wee snigger makes them feel smaller, you know. Anyway, I think school's quite a good example. School and work, probably because we spend a lot of time in both. But if you can think of any examples of times when you were made to feel smaller, you can put them in the comments as well. That would be brilliant. and the next part of this is refuse to let him reach for anything. So I know I experienced that a lot. A lot of kids do experience that, and it's not always from bad intentions. But you'll get some parents, you know, maybe they're like, no, the kid wants to learn some, I don't know, American football or something physical. And they're like, no, too dangerous. They'll not let that child reach. Or, no, you can't play mountain climbing. No, you might get hurt. And they might. But that refusing to let them reach, it's not always from a bad intention. Or, I know my dad used to get really worried about certain countries, travelling to certain countries. It wasn't the whole world, you could travel, but there were certain countries he was like, no, don't go there. And I know a couple of his brothers at one point went to one of these countries that he was concerned about, and it just caused him stress. Actually, it caused him more stress. Now, because they were all adults, there's no way he could have prevented them. But if he'd been in charge, he'd have stopped them from going to those countries, absolutely. Because that's what he felt. But so sometimes you'll get on a worried basis where you can, what I've found, when you can talk to the person about it and they can see your point of view, no so bad. It's when someone's rigid and they're like, no, like the kids with the football, no, under no circumstances, no matter what the child says, under no circumstances, that's suppression. Oops. Gusty wind. So anyway, that's my personal thought on that. You get things like people, the guy wants to be a writer and the parents are like, absolutely not, and they send him to engineering school. Happened to a very famous writer that we know of. We know a guy, there's a guy that we know, parents sent him to private school, and because that was the best thing to do. It's like in England, private schools, they're paid for school. I think it's the opposite way in America. Anyway, so off he went to private school, and he begged them not to send him. He hated it. They were like, no, you need to stay at private school. Eventually, after some time, he was caught with 2 other boys digging a tunnel to escape the private school. At which point his parents listened to him, so it all turned out okay in the end. But that was something he just really didn't want to do that, and for quite some time, the parents, out of concern for his future, were trying to do something else, and it never aligned. But there's other things that are a bit more obvious on the refusing to let reach for anything. Like there's certain parts of town sometimes that, oh no, you're not to go there because they're dangerous. And if you go there, you'll get hurt, and you might well get hurt. That's part of it. Or, let me see, oh yeah, here, this is a lovely, quiet English town. There's not a lot goes on at all. But this does happen, and one of my sons was getting into skating, and he was skateboarding, and he was very good actually. But if he ever went to the skate park on his own, he'd have to come back, because there was a bunch of boys there that would just target you on your own. And they were just there, they weren't there to be skaters, they were just there to suppress any lone child. So unless he went to the skate park with someone, he couldn't go to the skate park, and actually he stopped doing that, so it has suppressed him into inactivity. Or you get examples, a boy wants to play musical instruments and the dad's like, absolutely not, you need to play physical sports. Or a girl really wants to do dancing, like one of the parents is like, no, sorry, no reason, just no. That would be an example of suppression. I don't think it counts on things like, I really want to go out every night and get drunk. That probably doesn't count. I think it has to be, it's something that's harmful to you. But yeah, refuse to let it reach. It could be, here's a good example actually I thought of. Billy Elliot is a brilliant example of so there's a kid who wants to be a dancer. That's what he wants to do. He's an artist. And the family's like, absolutely no way. No way. And that whole movie is about how he overcame that. It's a brilliant movie. I love that movie. But that's a good example, and I think a lot of us have seen that, if not experienced it, it could be something simple, like, you've got a husband and wife, and the wife wants to go out for the night, and everything she says, no, didn't want to, no, didn't want to, no, sorry, don't want to. And eventually he's like, ugh, refusing to let reach. Or it could be the other way about. The husband's suggesting things and the wife's like, no, I'm just not interested, sorry. You know, and they might just sit at home. Or maybe the husband's like, well, I'll just go out with my friends then. And if she's really like, no, a no person, she's like, no, you're staying here with me. You know, that would be refusing to let reach completely. Anyway, I'm sure you've all had some examples of that. If you've got any examples, real examples that have happened in your life, then you can put them in the comments. The next part of the definition, which might have just blown away actually. Oh no, it never. Right, so squash someone, sit on him, make him smaller, refuse to let him reach for anything, then is make him uncertain about his reaching. Right, so I don't know about you, but that's happened to me a lot in life, where somebody's just put a wee doubt there and put up like, is it really the right thing? You know, maybe it would be better if you did whatever. I think the guy studied art, or you know, like the Elliot example could be, you know, even just someone saying, are you sure you're good enough? That could be enough to make someone uncertain about their reach. Are you sure you're good enough? Rather than go for it, just go for it, you know. Or here's an example. Someone I knew decided they wanted to join the police, and then someone they knew said to them, well, if you do that, you're not going to have any friends. Nobody's going to like you, because nobody likes any policeman anywhere, ever. And it's quite funny, right? But actually that was enough. That was enough for that person to go, oh, okay, they were at college just trying to get a couple of exam results so that they could join the police force. They just dropped out of college. That was it. They gave up that goal completely. So sometimes it's quite life-changing when suppression hits a person and they're aiming for a goal, and it comes in sometimes very subtly, sometimes very nicely, and advice from a friend. Sometimes it's really obvious. But if it comes in and the person doesn't know how to handle it, that's kind of like part of the end result for that, is they can change the whole course of their life. Or, you know, it can be any of these things, you know, any ideas like, oh, I want to be a fireman. You know, well, you sure that's a good idea? It's a very dangerous job, you might die, you know. Any of these little comments can sometimes suppress someone to the point where they give up on a goal or an ambition. A computer programmer, that's a lot of kids want to be computer programmers. And, you know, someone can say, well, everyone wants to be a computer programmer. So you're going to have a lot of competition, you're going to have to work really hard. And that might be enough to make them uncertain about that reaching. Or a guy wants guitar lessons, maybe something a bit more subtle, and his partner's like, oh no, well, you know, if you want, yeah, I suppose, but, you know, I think our money could be used on better things, and, you know, I'd rather spend the money on something a bit more useful, and you do know you'll need to work really hard to get good. You'll need to spend all your time doing it. It's no occurred to the partner that he wants to spend all his time doing it. That's the point. He wants to learn this. And that's a good thing. So, you know, that might be a bit of a more subtle way of making them uncertain. And then even if he does get the guitar lessons, he feels like, oh gosh, should I have spent the money on that? Maybe I shouldn't have done that, you know. Or you've got a salesman you're working with and he's saying, oh, customers are idiots and they don't know what they want and wasted time speaking to them, and that might make the other salesman like, what's the point in me trying? Because you need to speak to people if you're a salesman. Hey, that's some examples of the making him uncertain about his reaching. I'm sure you can think of more examples. I hope you can think of more examples, real life examples. Now the last bit of this definition is quite big. It's to render or lessen him in any way possible, by any means possible, to the harm of the individual and for the fancied protection of the suppressor. So that could cover quite a lot. There's a lot of dead obvious things, you know, like someone just steals off you would be an example, right? But it's the more subtle ones that I want to try and think of examples of, because it's the subtle ones that we tend to miss. I remember I had this friend actually. Had her for about 6 months before I kind of went, maybe not my friend. But honestly, almost daily she would tell me about these bad things that people were saying about me that were completely untrue. And I'd be like, but you did tell them I never did that, didn't you? You know, and she'd be like, oh yes, of course. Anyway, a bit later I realised, no, it was her that was telling all these other people these made up things. But this was a way of her lessening me and making me less liked, less popular. It certainly made me very nervous about talking to some people, because there were some people I considered my friends, and then she was telling me, this friend who I was helping a lot was telling me about these things that I just was like shocked that they would make it made me uncertain of them. And then it took me about 6 months. I should have been quicker off the ball on that one. But when I realised what was happening, I realised that she had really damaged a lot of my friendships, and she did lessen me and made me less powerful as a person. I allowed that, obviously. But that's an example, and it was subtle because she was my friend and I genuinely was helping her a lot. So I just never, for whatever reason, didn't anticipate that this friend would deliberately lie to me. But she did. That's quite a common one. You see these arguments and upsets happening. Well, I've seen it with my kids, you know, playing games with other kids, and there's one in particular that, you know, they'll be playing a game together and they'll constantly belittle him, tell him if he makes a mistake what an idiot he is. I mean, it's constant. It's like to the point where I've been like, right, turn that off, I'm not having it anymore. But the child's not recognising that it's been belittled and made less of and made weaker by this person who maybe just wants to be in charge of the game or something. Who knows what the fancied protection of the suppressor is, but definitely a suppressor. Well, you get in work as well, where you'll get someone that you work with who slags off the other people. You know, they say, what's wrong with this person, what's wrong with that person, and you've got to work with them. You know, I personally dislike that intensely. But I've been there, and I've been there quietly while somebody's saying, well, this person's done this, and this person's done that, and this person's done this, and they're useless, and they're this, and that. And it just makes it really hard for you to then work with that other person, because you've got that, like, you've listened to this nonsense about them, and you know, and it can influence how you feel. So these are like subtle ways that it can, you know, harmfully affect you. I remember there was one time I had this weird situation. It was kind of a landlord. Anyway, people had different rooms, and this landlord, sometimes on a daily basis, would come into their rooms and move things and change things around. And it sounds trivial, but oh, Jesus, the upset that this caused, because they weren't letting the people in these rooms have their own space. You know, and they thought they had a right to, which they definitely don't. But that's another subject. But I remember that causing a huge amount of upset, because the person wasn't allowed to just create on their own space and feel comfortable in their own space. That's another subtle way of suppressing someone, just like not giving them their own privacy. Actually, I'm one of the few people that feels for celebrities, because I do think they have a right to privacy, and I don't think they should have to defend the right to privacy. But it's partly because I've experienced things like that. I mean, I've seen people's privacy abused, and I've seen the effects it has, and I'm like, no, it's not right, you shouldn't do that to someone. Anyway, these are just some examples. Let me see if I've got, oh, here's another good example. I've got one more. Right, before the coronavirus, kids used to go into playgrounds and play and be really noisy. remember one time some old boy shouting at the kids to be quiet, they're being too noisy. It's like, come on, kids are noisy. Mine's are really noisy. I was worried a wee minute ago actually. I thought one of them was going to start making noises. You know, but in a playground where there should be allowed to just be kids, to have, you know, that's just being suppressive. General comments as well, I think, like, you know, you're, oh, young people today, there's one, generality. If you're young, you'll be like, what about young people today? It's like, you know, you just feel a little bit like there's something wrong when there's not really anything wrong. Anyway, these are just some examples of suppression. And like I said, let me just get this other, well, suppress is the actual word, which I will, like I said, put in the comments below. Now, suppression is a harmful intention or action against which one cannot fight back. Thus, when one can do anything about it, it is less suppressive. So, the cause of suppression, as I said, it not only goes into, alright, so what is the cause of that? Why do some people get ill more than others? Why is it that some people are very up and down emotionally? What is really causing that? And what's the solution? And the, you know, part of the solution is that you'll be able to do something about it. You know, and sometimes it'll be subtle. Sometimes it's actually just getting into a good conversation with somebody. Like, you know, my dad, you know, when he was worried about his brothers travelling to a country, I mean, they told him, no, it's not like that, it's just what you've read in the paper. And they did ease his mind somewhat so that he wouldn't phone them up every day telling them to move. Right? So, you know, sometimes it might be as simple as that, because you know you've got a good intentioned person that you're dealing with. And sometimes it might be, well, as we'll go in over the next few days, you might need to do a bit more of a handling to deal with what you're dealing with. Depends on each individual situation, but we will cover that. So anyway, that's me finished with what I wanted to chat to you guys about today. Like I said, I'd like to go over the different personalities, the ones you can trust, the ones that you should be your friends, and the ones that you shouldn't. I will put these two definitions in the comments so you can reread them again and not have to go back. And I would say, as I said, I think the cause of suppression booklet is, and definitely should be, part of your coronavirus survival book package, because you need this information. You need it. And there's another couple of books I want to recommend that you should read. One of them is Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. Dianetics means through the mind or through thought. And, you know, what the soul is doing to the body. And it covers things like 70%, doctors estimate 70% of illness is caused by the mind. So it doesn't mean the illness isn't real, but okay, what's going on there? This is a good read. If you love reading, this is a book to read. And the other book that I would recommend as part of the coronavirus survival book package is Self-Analysis. It's a fantastic book. It does what it says on the tin. It's self-analysis, and basically you can, if you're starting to feel stressed and worried, which a lot of people are, you know, in the circumstances, well, alright, this gives you something you can do. Literally 20 minutes a day, you go through this, your confidence will come up, you'll feel more hopeful about the future. This is really, really simple, really easy, and it's subtle but amazing. So I recommend that. That and the Cause of Suppression booklet. You'll survive the coronavirus. Thanks very much. Bye.